the Heineken River Deck at Pier 17. So there's something really interesting going on at ESPN Bet right now. The New York Giants are actually the favorites to land both Travis Hunter and Shedeur Sanders. Both of them. That doesn't mean they're going to land both of them. The bet is not necessarily they're going to have two of them on their roster. But it is more likely that Shedeur ends up with the Giants and more likely that Travis Hunter ends up with the Giants than it is with them on another team, at least as of now. Travis Hunter is minus 200. Shedeur is plus 185. That could also mean the Giants maybe want to trade back into the first round. Adam Schefter, ESPN senior NFL insider, was on the Pat McAfee show and had this to say about the Giants at number 3.
It certainly feels like the Cleveland Browns are inclined to look elsewhere aside from quarterback. And it's starting to feel like the New York Giants at number 3 are starting to look elsewhere other than quarterback. So if the Browns don't take Shedeur Sanders at 2, and if the Giants don't take Shedeur Sanders at 3, and that is the feel that I'm getting recently, where is Shedeur Sanders going?
And that is the question. So the Giants thing per ESPN Bet is a lot of the idea that maybe they actually do take him at 3 / maybe they try to trade back in. Okay? So if we play a little game here, if Shedeur Sanders slips, could the following teams actually pass on him? Would the Raiders actually pass on him at 6?
Yes.
Okay. Would the Jets actually pass on him at 7?
Yes.
Would New Orleans pass on him at 9?
That's the one for me.
No.
So you don't believe he gets past 9?
No.
I don't.
What if I told you that they had already made up their mind in a Sean Payton, Bo Nix sort of way that Jackson Dart was their guy?
Who, New Orleans?
Play the game, though. Let's say he does. Let's say he does slip past.
They're
New
very
Orleans.
convicted and they're
Or
evals.
maybe they don't think they want a quarterback in this year's draft class because they just reworked the contract of Derek Carr and they have needs elsewhere. Okay? Just to play it out. Would San Francisco pass up on him at 11?
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah.
Okay, I was going to say
San Francisco
really?
passes on him.
Yeah, I
Would
can't see
Dallas-
them going that route.
Would Dallas pass on him at 12?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Would Miami pass on him at 13?
They shouldn't, but they probably will.
Okay. Indy at 14.
Ooh, that's a good one. That's a juicy one.
You're not taking the quarterback for somebody else.
Okay.
So they would pass on him.
But you also might have Anthony Richardson may have fallen out of favor a little bit there.
Sure.
Daniel Jones doesn't feel like a long-term option. Stopgap there. This is kind of like what we saw with the Falcons last year a little bit. You could move on from Anthony Richardson. Daniel Jones could start until you feel Shedeur is ready to step in, and you have a guy for now and a guy for the future.
I agree with you that the game plan that the Falcons executed is the right one. You got to remember, though, they had just hired Raheem Morris, and you had security with your GM in the front office. So with this situation, if Daniel Jones and or Anthony Richardson can't get the job done, I don't think there's anything that a rookie quarterback can do to save the jobs of Chris Ballard and their head coach Shane Steichen.
Okay. So Arizona at 16. Would they pass on him?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know how Arizona feels about Kyler Murray.
I would rather Shedeur Sanders.
Right now,
personally.
Kyler Murray feels like something to do when there's nothing to do. Mm-hmm. And I'm not to say that Kyler didn't play better last year, especially with them implementing more under center snaps. But I don't know that Jonathan Gannon is sold on Kyler Murray.
I don't think he should be.
Well, if he's not, then and Shedeur Sanders falls all the way to 16, that's at least something you got to take a long, hard look at.
Pittsburgh at 21, Adam Schefter has told us they are not going to draft a quarterback in the first round as of now. Now, that may be under the assumption that Shedeur Sanders is not available to them. If he is and they pass on him, that is mind-boggling to me. But if you go based on what Schefter said, and then you get down to the Rams at 26, here's the thing. Right now on ESPN Bet, it's a fascinating opportunity to bet on this. The Shedeur draft position. Over under 8.5. Over 8.5 is minus 130. Under 8.5 is even. The way it works, and I had to be explained this by Nuno because I was very confused on how this works. Not from an ESPN Bet perspective, from a me perspective. Over means 9 or later. Under means 8 or earlier. If you place the bet right now on ESPN Bet, over under Shedeur 8.5 in terms of the draft position, where are you going to go?
Over.
Under.
Well, then where is he going to get picked?
I think he's going to get picked before the 9th overall pick.
By who?
I don't know, but somebody could potentially move up. I'm sitting here looking at all of these teams. There's too many arguments to be made on why it makes sense for a franchise to take him. There's an argument to be made that the Las Vegas Raiders should take him. There's an argument to be made that the New York Jets should take him. Remember, Aaron Glenn, when asked about Justin Fields being QB1, he said, you might be 1 on the depth chart, but that's with a pencil. So, New Orleans Saints potentially moving up a slot in order to make sure that they get their guy. There are too many teams, and it's too much of a quarterback-starved league to think that Shedeur Sanders is going to slide outside of the top 10. I just don't see a world where that happens.
But it's hard to then pencil him into some of these other places.
Yeah.
That's the thing. I think if he's available for
it's
the Raiders.
It's hard to pencil him in to the Raiders?
Yeah. I think they should take him. I think it's a no-brainer for them. I don't think they're necessarily going to based on what we've seen so far. I really don't.
You have more faith that the Raiders are going to take a running back at 6 than a quarterback?
Which I think is crazy, but I could see that happening.
I could see it happening as well.
I'm not saying I can't see it happening. What I'm saying is if Shedeur Sanders is still on the board, I have a hard time seeing them passing on the quarterback for a running back. They're not ready to win right now.
Agreed. The Vegas Raiders, if they were to take Shedeur Sanders at 6 overall, we would look at them as one of the smarter teams in the entire league now.
Yeah, if they were to take Ashton Genty at 6th overall, they would be doing the same thing that the New York Giants did back in 2018, with taking a running back 2nd overall. And then watching him win a championship with another team because you didn't want to pay him a second contract because your team ain't winning.
That second team's probably the Chiefs.
Probably.
Like if we do the Saquon comparison in division.
Yeah.
Smalls, you would bet where? Over, under 8.5.
Based on the way you just laid it out, I think I'd have to go over. That seems like the safer bet because you just gave us the teams, and I could see all these teams passing on him. I could see a scenario in which he does fall on draft night.
Mel Kiper Jr. joined us yesterday after 8:30 a.m. Eastern. You can go back on the podcast and listen. Had this to say about why dropping isn't actually an issue for Shedeur Sanders.
It does bode well if he does drop for Shedeur Sanders being a good quarterback in the NFL. If the Saints passed on him at 9 and the Steelers, as Adam Schefter suggests, are not going to take a quarterback at 21, then he drops down to the Rams at 26, or he drops down to a team trading back into the bottom half of round 1 to get him. So it could end up where the Giants take a player like, say, Travis Hunter, who's the number 1 player on my board, at 3 and bypass Shedeur, and then get back into the bottom end of the first round and take Shedeur if he drops down that far. So don't count out the Giants for Shedeur just because they take Travis Hunter, say, at 3, or Abdul Carter at 3, whoever ends up being there. So that's where Shedeur could go, probably where Aaron Rodgers went.
As a Giants fan, would you be open to that idea, CC? That they trade back into the first round for Shedeur, which likely means giving up future draft picks?
No, because I don't want to give up next year's first-round pick. The Giants are going to stink this year. The over-under is 4.5. They're going to be awful. Make your picks. I don't think the Giants are in a situation where they need to be reaching for quarterbacks. I just don't see that.
But if you have a head coach and a GM on the hot seat, sometimes the way to extend your shelf life is by getting that quarterback. And what better way to do it when you get what could be a generational two-way talent like Travis Hunter? You get him off the board, and then you find a way to get back into the first round, get that quarterback of the future as well. It's a much better sell for them to keep their jobs.
That ain't the quarterback of the future that Giants fans want, though. As much as I respect Shedeur Sanders, as great a pro as I think he's going to be, and I think he's going to be a good one,